Ailesh crash-landed in an arid shrubland near the coast of the Moose Heel Ocean. It was a place that would become known as Outlaws Inlet. Cast from her home and inexperienced on the rim, Ailesh wasn't expected to survive exile for very long. These lands meant a permanent summer, and local wildlife would be unforgiving. She worked quickly to establish a shelter in the nearby rock face, knowing that a heat wave at any minute would mean certain death. She may have been inexperienced, but she was also tenacious, and she used her knowledge to start building up a power generator. It wasn't long before she got noticed, and a minor scuffle outside of her doorstep was a stark reminder that the stakes out here, on the rim, a mistake can mean your life. Not even a few days later, the gods tested Ailesh, and she survived a fight with a wild emu, though she was just seconds away from death. Being alone out here meant it was just a matter of time before she'd be tested beyond her means, and she made up her mind to try to grow her meager home. Sometimes survival can mean sacrifice, and this became a theme at Outlaws Inlet. Ailesh worked tirelessly, risking infection in the poor conditions, but she finally managed to set aside a bedroom to rest. It was right when Ailesh earned her time to relax that her prayers were answered. To an extent. A man literally fell from the sky to join her, but he was in terrible condition. It would be a month before he could even walk again. And again, she had to sacrifice her time and her resources to caring for him in the meantime. Things seemed hopeless for a while, but then something amazing happened. A wild person appeared and was also attempting to survive. Ailesh was able to communicate on a rudimentary level and invited Trout to stay with him. Now, Trout didn't take too easily to clothes, and she may have been rough from her experience in the wild, but she was fierce and incredibly loyal. She refused to let Ailesh stay in any danger for long, constantly throwing herself into the heat of battle. Ailesh was so thankful and taken aback by the behavior that when the opportunity showed up to earn honor and recognition, she gladly gave that opportunity to Trout. Trout became a wild woman with a title and led by example. By the time Brady woke from his slumber, the hierarchy was already in place, and Trout was a natural leader. She directed efforts to establishing the first prison in Outlaws Inlet, which allowed prisoners to be released and relations to be fixed. This resulted in a time of peace, and Ailesh and the others were able to build and expand safely. This would be the turning point for Outlaws Inlet. This is the time where they went from surviving to attempting to thrive. Having enough food stores, indoor plumbing, air conditioning on the rim, it was a dream, but everything they added meant additional risk. Anything that they had, somebody else wanted. And an unfortunate lesson that we all learn on the rim: all dreams have to end. You could say it was her wild roots, or maybe it was just her stubborn nature, but Trout never acknowledged that fact. The colony continued to grow, relationships formed, and people began to forget that there was real dangers out there. There were a few times where she led Ailesh out into the wild, maybe as a way of showing her where she came from. All the while, the inlet continued to thrive. Old enemies had become allies, the economy was amazing, and the people were happy. In the final days of the third year, there was a hive attack. There was a lot of debate because of the lack of cover, but there was an eager new colonist out to prove himself to Trout. The battle started too early, and the residents of Outlaws Inlet were incredibly outgunned. Trout began screaming like the wild woman she was and drew their fire, and unfortunately, she was very effective. Trout literally gave her heart to protect the lives and colony of Outlaws Inlet. And while she didn't leave behind an heir, she did leave behind a legacy. And this group of unlikely followers survives today as a result of her sacrifice. Her memorial now serves as a landmark for all passing travelers, sending a message about fearlessness in the face of adversity. And it reminds us that heroes never truly die.